Uh-oh, my HL15 is back in the shop. This is not the first video I've done on this. If this is your first time seeing this, be sure to check out this video. But it is back in the shop because it needs some work, a little bit of updates. Alright, to catch you up, this is a 15 drive, 22 terabyte. I've basically been using this at home. And this is an extreme overkill thing at home, but you have to understand that this thing is running an entire fleet of virtual machines. Everything from Home Assistant to media serving, primarily media serving, and it's nuts. It has a Bergamo processor in it, 128 cores. Yes, 128 cores. It's Zen 4C, it's the compact cores, it doesn't clock super high, but it's designed to run a fleet of virtual machines. The other thing that's handy with this is when I need to run an experiment, which consists of a lot of virtual machines, I can spin up a lot of virtual machines and this thing will tank that kind of load like a champ without also disrupting everything else. You see there's a lot of other stuff running on my home network, the wireless controller, the stuff that replaces the Iron Fireman, the media thing, stuff to do synchronization and bookmarks, the Tailscale stuff. It's a fleet of complexity managed in YAML and JSON files. This is going to get some upgrades, and this is because I just got back from Wilmington, the Creator Summit with 45 drives. This is a 45 drives chassis. What am I doing in Cape Fear? I'm at Union Station in Cape Fear for the 45 drives Creator Summit. And we're going to talk about the Stornado, but also we're going to talk about a new product from 45 drives, which is an entirely flash-based silent fanless setup. They can do 10 gigabytes per second. So it's a lot of fun and really exciting and all kinds of magic. So Cape Fear Community College is kind of like the place for this. But this is also really fun because you can talk to college students about doing unholy things with storage and Linux and drivers and PCIe and VDI and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun to hang out here and talk about those kinds of things. Now, in addition to all that, Deadmau5 was here because he collaborated with 45 Drives on the studio, and 45 Drives is launching the studio thing, and that's all fun and exciting because everything is going to be silent and fanless, and that's how things have to operate in an audio studio. And I don't quite know how they've gotten the capacitors to quieten down, but they've done it. Ducts and chimneys and 10 gigabit cooling, and they demoed on stage 8 editing stations operating with dual 10 gig interfaces, and that was a lot of fun. First off, gonna install this dust filter. While I install the dust filter, we're gonna ramble, we're gonna wax poetic. Home Assistant just launched their ZB2. This is the Zigbee version of their antenna. I just did a Z-Wave upgrade at my house because most of my stuff was Z-Wave, and I gotta say it's really nice. I love what Home Assistant is doing. Home Assistant is a significant part of my home automation experience at this point, and you should definitely check out the just launched ZB2 because this is what my Home Assistant runs on. Well, it's a cluster. There's another machine that Home Assistant runs on, but I only have the one replica of my media. And these drives from Server Part Deals, look, even this one, it has a ding on it. When I got this and I unpacked it, I was like, ooh, it has a physical ding. It's bent. I don't want to get all bent out of shape, but it's a little bent. This is not a drill, but it hasn't died. This is completely full. I've completely filled it with important data, but also a lot of AI stuff. And whenever it gets full, I just go delete AI stuff, old models, things like that. Copies of Llama 70B, a whole bunch of different quants. It's not the fastest on mechanical storage. Fortunately, Kioxia has fixed me up. Kioxia has supplied the king's ransom of Flash, and I'm working on some stuff with that. But first, we're going to replace this dust filter, and then I'm just going to ramble about some of the stuff that's going on with 45 drives because I just got back from Steve's and helping him with his storage server, and I just want to talk about a few things. That's all. Just ramble. All right, so for my setup, this has been fantastic. It is mostly mechanical storage. I've got Optane for metadata special devices. I have another system that has Flash that is sort of cobbled together. You remember the 3D printed NAS? Yeah, 3D printed NAS. Thanks, Kioxia. And that is running everything else. Both of those are completely full. I'm going to need some more flash storage. The flash storage is amazing for virtual machines, and this is amazing for storage. And the network interface from this to the other thing basically makes it like this is local storage, and that's great. But you might notice there's some dust there. If you did get an HL15, you can get an optional dust filter. That's what this upgrade is. Or if you order an HL15 now, it's going to have a dust filter. We are also going to talk about the Intel B50 and VDI and what 45 drives is doing with that. So, let's get started. And boom, now I've got a dust filter. And I can throw this away. This doesn't have anything to do with anything anymore. You don't have the screws in the front for the fans because it's part of the bracket. Although I think with the little things that stick out on the dust filter, I'll probably have to pop the screws off the front to make it easier to service the dust filter. It doesn't slide in and out super easily, like flipped around either way. And that's just probably because it's a retro conversion or because I did something wrong. But for cleaning a dust filter once every 6 months, this is completely fine. Now, why is this exciting? One, this is the HL15 case. It doesn't necessarily have to be for home lab. It actually came from the AV15. This is a tremendously awesome platform for building your own hyper-converged thing. I don't have a redundant power supply. I've got a server motherboard in here. Sure, I've got an Arctic tower cooler. This is very DIY. When you buy from a giant company, you get a lot of engineering and you get a lot of other stuff. Like, they put a lot of thought into redundant power supplies, redundancy on the motherboard. Sometimes they'll have a custom motherboard design. This has an ASRock motherboard. ASRock uses their motherboards in their rack designs, and so you benefit from that. But this is a DIY solution. Like, you could buy an ASRock server instead of an ASRock motherboard and get the same motherboard or a very similar one, and that is perfectly reasonable. But where we're going, because the whole like AI and AI taking over the cloud, I think the pendulum is going to swing the other way, and I think that self-hosting for small and medium businesses is going to make a lot of sense for a lot of services. Obviously, not everything's going to come out of the cloud, but something like this, if you hook it up with Tailscale and you run this and you're using something like Proxmox, is going to work really well. And 45 drives is getting behind that. 45 drives is, I think, going to be a disruptor. That was one of the things we learned at the Creator Summit, looking at stuff like 45 drives is now incorporating the stuff from randos in the business community at large and talking to folks at, university and that sort of thing. They can build it, and they can build it and make it disruptive. So we're talking about things like VDI, subscription-free VDI. 45 drives is working on that now. Intel has GPUs that have SRIOV that don't cost thousands upon thousands of dollars. And so you get your redundancy from building a cluster of 3 or 5 of these. 45 drives has done their homework with Ceph and building Ceph clusters. And so you build a cluster of, say, 5 of these, and you only lose one chassis worth of storage. Well, a little more than that because you have a little redundancy in each chassis, but you only lose one chassis worth of storage in your Ceph cluster. So if you have 5 of these and each of them has, 12 or 15, 22 terabyte drives, you're not really building it out with a ton of redundancy. You're building it out so that one of those can go down. And so you actually have about 3.8 times 15 times 22 terabytes worth of usable capacity in your cluster with the Ceph setup. And yeah, you can use that with a back end, like a high-speed storage back end. But if you do a 3 or a 5 node cluster, you can do that with 1 or 2 dual port 100 gig NICs. And so your storage back end need not even connect to a switch. So we're in the mechanical room and we have, you can run 100 gigabit without a switch. And this is the cluster.
Little mesh network. Every node connected to every other node.
That is a Stornado triple threat. We looked at that at the Creator Summit, and so that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to hang out with Al and Jude. We did a podcast together. You should check that out. And I think the next chapter of this is going to be, are you using VDI? Are you, how are you using it? Like, hit me up in the comments below. Hit me up in the forum if you really want. I want to do a project that has some hooks into VDI and automation and probably Proxmox, and maybe even mixing a Proxmox cluster where some of it you run in the cloud, maybe a private cloud, maybe you've got an instance there, maybe you're using Proxmox backup and you're doing cloud replicas. I'm not really sure. That's kind of what the vlog part of this is. For me, for my home setup, This has been fantastic. And it might seem like it's insane because it's Zen 4 and 128 cores, but you'd be surprised what you can find on eBay. Except memory. Memory right now is just insane. Memory at prices are just completely nuts. The memory that I got in this, I got from eBay, and I could flip the memory for about 4.5 times what I paid for it. And I'm really tempted to do that, but I also really like how good my stuff is running at home, so I'm not going to do that. I can never do that. I can never give up my children. They're cattle, not pets. Cattle, not pets. I do like the automation and making the automation, making it easier to move from machine to machine. Right now, this still has the RTX 4000, the A version. I don't have the Blackwell version, but I think I'm going to swap that out for two, maybe a B60 or two B50s from Intel because of the VDI aspect. The encoders are not behaving the way that I want, but if you want to join in that project or help out with that project, come to the Level 1 forums. Always looking for folks that are productive on that kind of stuff. Get you access to hardware and help do things for the community. And I think that's a fun thing, especially in like the home lab, quasi home lab, small medium business lab type scenario. So yeah, I've just upgraded my home lab. I can't wait to go play with my Home Assistant Connect, the ultimate Zigbee thread network for Home Assistant. So if you have Zigbee stuff at home, check this out from Home Assistant. I have been so tickled with my Home Assistant setup, all the way from the Iron Fireman 5 years ago. Can't believe that's been 5 years to now. Slowly building the home automation, sometimes with my own sensors, but anymore, there's starting to be good options for light switches and sensors and automation and interfaces that are reliable. So it's really nice to see. And it's really nice to see 45 drives positioning themselves as a disruptor, not just from their humble beginnings in storage to VDI and computation. And look at what we did for Gamers Nexus and Steve. It's like the ultimate, this Stornado compute and the sandboxing compute plus also local storage opens up a whole universe of possibilities beyond just VDI. It's a lot of fun. And you should check it out and watch all those videos. Yeah, I don't know. This is like a flashback episode. I'm sorry, but I just had it on the bench and I thought I'd roll the cameras. Anyway, I'm Wendell, this Level 1. I'm signing out. If you have any questions or I missed anything, hit me up in the forum. I'm signing out and I'll see you there.